Code of conduct.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. God made me punch in accurate numbers. My castle won't crumble. What I tackle will fumble. I've been a leader when they ain't see it, but now my feet is up. According to me, royalty didn't end with King Tut. Crown on my head, clouds is at my legs. Big says sky is the limit. I look down on the ledge. I push the bar like I'm opening a cell. Hands in my cookie jar, you won't come out with a single nail. I need all of mine. The weight of my shoulders won't fit on a scale. What's a king to a giant? Well, Goliath fell. Even if we playin' chess, dog, this king can't be checked. I make all my moves on the board, I invented my steps. I'm a king, the blood of a ruler. I feel like Mansa Musa. Make your squad disappear like landing by the Bermuda. Triangle, look at it from my angle. I'm a king, the closest thing to being one of God's angels. I'm a king. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct with the King podcast. I am your host, Jay Spence the King. And listen, I'm excited. I'm always excited when I do the show, but I'm excited, man. First of all, it's a Victory Tuesday. You know what I mean? My boys just went down to Miami and did something brutal. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But I'm also excited. I got a very, very special guest joining me in a couple of seconds. She's in the back waiting, so I'm going to bring her in. But before I bring her in, I want to talk about something real quick, and I'll probably get her, I'll get her opinion on this, and I'll see kind of how she feels. But I need Buffalo fans to relax. I need y'all to relax. Josh Allen is still Josh Allen, okay? I just need y'all to kind of just breathe, just woosah, whew, it's okay. It's okay. First of all, we just won 35-0. No, it wasn't Josh throwing, it wasn't him throwing 5 touchdowns, getting it. It wasn't him throwing 3 and running for 2. He didn't go for 420 yards for an 80% completion percentage. No, he didn't do it. He threw an interception. I understand. It might be scary because he doesn't look the way he looked last year. I understand. However, there's a couple things I need y'all to actually just pay attention to. First, you got to pay attention to the fact that we got to give credit where it's due. The Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1, I think they're going to be probably a top 5 unit in the NFL this year defensively. I think that defensive line and those cornerbacks and safeties together is going to be something scary for anybody who plays them. Now, I know, we don't like to talk positively about other teams and their players and all that stuff. Pittsburgh got it for real. Clearly, I always joke and I say Josh Allen is the Miami Dolphins daddy. You know what I mean? So he went down there and they enjoyed Father's Day. But in reality, they have a pretty good defense too. Now, it didn't look like it when you look at the score, but if you watch the game, then you see that there were times that they kind of confused Josh. There were some plays that Josh might not have looked the way that we expected him to look, like he normally goes down to Miami and just dominates, which we did, but not the same way we're used to. It's week 2. Now it's week 3. Okay. So I just need y'all to kind of relax. And, and I see comment in the comments here saying that, Derek Carr just beat the same Pittsburgh defense. That's true. But guess what? Derek Carr has that the Bills didn't have in week 1, a running game. Guess what else he did that Derek Carr seems, I'm not even going to debate about Derek Carr because this is not a Las Vegas Raiders show. I am here to talk about my Buffalo Bills and to talk about my boys. So that's my lead. I'm not even going to do a full little monologue because, like I said, I'm very, very excited to have my special guest with me. I have Miss Lindsey. Okay, well, I'm going to bring her in. I feel like everybody pretty much knows who she is. Miss Lindsey.
Hi. It's so nice to see you.
It is very nice to see you and finally meet you not in person, but in person. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Well, thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for taking the time out. This is going to be a little different for you. I know you really, you typically you go in hard on football. I love your timeline. I love how I love your timeline, but we're going to talk a little bit of football, but I really want to talk about you a little bit as well. So
okay.
start off, let's hit it where I left off. The Buffalo Bills fan base seems to be concerned right now about Josh Allen, and I think there are things that plays into that factor. The first thing that I think is the offensive line. I know they improved this week in comparison to week 1 against the Steelers, but I still think there has to be some improvement there. What are your thoughts as far as A, the production that we've seen so far from Josh Allen, and then B, what factors do you think play into the reasoning why he isn't, looking as dominant as he did last year?
Right. So let me preface this by saying, like, I am somebody that covers the entire NFL, so it's hard for me to focus on like one game at a time, but I did go back and watch like the highlights and everything just to like prep myself for this. And that was the first thing I noticed was the offensive line. And it's hard for me to be too critical because it is week 2 and, things are just starting to really gel. And sometimes, especially with an offensive line, like it does take a little bit and it might take some like shifting around and just take, a couple more practices to get things down. But that was the first thing I noticed. And I'm not going to say it's like too alarming to me at this point, just because it is so early. But I mean, they have time to get it together and I feel like the talent is there. And I feel like they have the pieces to be able to get it to be better. And nowadays in the NFL, the success of your quarterback is really dependent upon your offensive line. So I'm not going to say that's the entire reason why Josh Allen has seemed to be struggling so far, but it definitely is a factor. So.
Yeah, well, to your point about the offensive line, because I actually noticed that you kind of got at somebody earlier, kind of questioning you about like, what do you mean the offensive line? First of all, I love it, but secondly, the thing is, this is the first 2 games now. This is the first 2 games that the offensive line has actually played together. So the same guys have been there last year, but they weren't healthy at every game somebody wasn't in or somebody wasn't able to be part of it. So this is the first time this unit is trying to gel together as a unit. And I agree. I'm not going to blame it on the offensive line, but I think it's a factor when you consider the communication up front and all that stuff. But another thing that I think is that, I think when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, I think they kind of put a blueprint out there on how to defend Josh Allen and how to defend the offense of the Buffalo Bills. Can you kind of just speak? Again, I know you cover the entire NFL, and I know the AFC Championship was a game that I'm sure you covered. Can you just speak a little bit to the blueprint that they put out there? Because that's another thing I think we're missing. It's a tough thing now when there's film, and now we actually have an idea on how to cover these guys.
Right. And I struggle with the whole like blueprint idea in the NFL just because it's hard for me to say, like, I'm just going to bring up another example. Like everyone says that everyone has the blueprint now to beat the Chiefs now that the Ravens did it like this past Sunday night. And like, I hate that. But I mean, it because like defensive players get paid too. And Patrick Mahomes gets paid too. The Chiefs offensive line gets paid too, So it's like, I mean, these people, when they see a team like the Buffalo Bills, who is obviously a AFC contender, that's a game that every defense is circling on their calendar. And that's a team that people are working to beat because they know they're one of the top teams in the NFL right now. So, I don't really, like I said, I don't really subscribe to the whole like blueprint idea, but I definitely think that more teams are putting in the effort to be able to pick apart their weaknesses, whereas, other teams might not be doing that.
Yeah, and to your point, I also agree with that. As far as the blueprint thing, especially like you're talking about teams and the Chiefs and all that. First of all, not every team has Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Not every team. So like there's things that Lamar can do that there's 31 other quarterbacks in the league that can't do. So it takes a special kind of play or player to do what we saw Monday night or Sunday night in that game. But another thing that as far as the blueprint, like I said, I know we don't like to use that term, but the thing that I see about it is, and it's actually in the comments, I was going to bring it up. Teams don't appear to really be blitzing anymore because Josh is one of the better quarterbacks in the league at kind of evading pressure, getting out of the pocket when the pressure comes. And then because that pressure is coming, he's finding the open guy. He's finding the guy that, typically would have been covered by the blitzer or whatever. Is that something that you're noticing too?
Definitely. It definitely in the first 2 weeks. I feel like again, like it's hard for me to say that teams aren't blitzing anymore because it's only week 2. So, I mean, we could see some of that in the future, but it's definitely something that I have been noticing too throughout the entire NFL.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the NFL for a minute because there's been like some great, there's been some great games
Oh my
to
God.
start the season. Prime time, you can't ask for better prime time games than we've had so far. I feel like the opening game was amazing. We had a game going to overtime. We had a game that go down to the wire, and then Sunday another game go down to the wire. Can we ask for anything better from the NFL starting off?
Yeah, I feel like I said the same thing like this past Sunday night, and then I looked at the Thursday night game this week, and I was like, okay, I feel like this is gonna be like our one dud, like especially now that Tyrod Taylor is out, which is so unfortunate for him. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been exciting, and that's like, I mean, I feel like we usually a lot of like the primetime games that are just, those games that you struggle to stay awake watching, like even early on in the season, but they've been really good so far.
Yeah, they've been exciting to say the least, but it's just been as a football fan, it's like you go through this obviously every year we go through the off season, but the thing that makes this more exciting for me this year is that, like last year, obviously there were no fans or limited fans in certain arena or stadiums. So now, to see the game and to actually have real crowd noise and like I never thought I would miss people, but I
Yeah.
miss people so much. And, do you think that the crowd being back is a factor to certain things as well? Because that's another thing about Josh. People are like, I'm seeing in comments and I'm seeing on the timeline on Twitter, people are like, hey, maybe last year he was able to play like that because it felt like practice to him. And now it's a game and it's in front of fans and blah, 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 blah. Do you feel like that might be a factor, not only for Josh, but just for people around the league in general?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed like a lot of the crowd noise like around the NFL is kind of affecting the quarterbacks. I saw it what was the game I'm thinking of with the 49ers with the in Philly. That was, I mean, they were loud. Again, Sunday night, the Ravens fans are really loud. So I feel like it's definitely a factor, but I just think it's something to get used to. I mean, these guys are normal. I mean, last year was a fluke. So normally these players, I mean, even if you're, a rookie or a second year player, you're used to the crowd noise in college. So I think it's something that the guys are going to have to get used to. I think they'll
Yeah,
eventually get there.
I think so too. Because like you said, they've played all of these guys, with the exception of maybe a couple that have played for small schools in college. These guys are going to colleges that sometimes have bigger crowds than the NFL games, so I don't think that the crowd noise really is a factor. It may be a factor in the sense of like some false starts, but that's never, that to me, that doesn't change from what has happened years past. I always think, for instance, I went to the Cardinals game this past Sunday, and they have an actual count, and from I think 2009 or whatever, they lead the league according to their stats. I don't know if it's true, but they lead the league in crowd forced false starts. So I just think it's something that it affects people, period. And I don't think it's something that will contribute to, obviously, like if Josh is MVP caliber, he's MVP caliber. If he's not, he's not. I don't think it has anything to do with the crowd. We give ourselves too much credit at times.
Right.
Yeah. Again, you cover the entire league. So kind of tell me right now, like, and I know it's week 2 going into week 3 now, but who are you watching? Like what teams are you excited about this year that you expect big things from, or just, who really grabs your attention that not everyone is talking about?
The Raiders are a huge surprise to me. I had them like in my bottom half of like, I guess I ranked the teams like, I like to rank teams like kind of after training camp, but before the actual games
Mhm.
start. And they were on my bottom half. I mean, they really surprised me against the Ravens. I thought I had a sense that they might win, but not playing the way that they played. I mean, Derek Carr especially, like he's been great. And that's kind of a team that's really surprised me. The Niners are great, I think are great. Again, I've been a huge Jimmy Garoppolo believer throughout this entire process with him. And I just think a lot of people were kind of counting him out. And I mean, they did struggle a little bit, and they didn't get Kittle involved like they should have. Brandon Ayuk's another one that they haven't really gotten involved like they should have. But I mean, I guess people could have predicted them to win these 2 games, but I think they're going to surprise a lot of people this year. So, and then of course the Ravens. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't beat the Raiders, but I mean, they needed that game on Sunday night, and they really pulled it out, and really that was a statement win.
It was. Lamar is he's gonna get hate, I think, for the most part of his career. I just think it's one of those things he's gonna get hate. But regardless if he's not a thrower of the ball, like he's not Tom Brady, he's not Patrick Mahomes. But the thing is, he leads that offense, and I love what he does. Earlier in the year, actually, when the Ravens came to Buffalo for the playoff game, I did a segment where I said not bad for a running back and a tight end, because coming out of the draft, everybody kept saying Lamar should be a running back or a wide receiver, and Josh Allen is too big. He's a runner. He should switch to tight end. And for those guys to kind of get to where they made it at that point, I thought it was impressive. But somebody from a team that I feel is slept on, and I'm actually happy my man Steve in the comments just said it. Carolina is surprising to me. I made a bet with a couple people prior to the season that I thought Sam Darnold was actually going to improve a ton. I think not to speak negatively about anybody, but I think Adam Gase should just like not be close to any quarterback with talent. And I feel like Peyton Manning has really helped that guy get jobs, and he sent his kids to college and all this stuff. So I think at some point we got to understand that coaching really absolutely matters. What are your thoughts on Carolina so far to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been like a Sam Darnold fan. I didn't expect him to do as well as he is doing so far, but I did expect him to improve, and he's kind of somebody that can really benefit on getting out of the dumpster fire that is the New York Jets. And just getting like inside a different atmosphere and a different place. And I mean, I hate to say this about the Jets, but sometimes I feel like they don't care about their players. And as a quarterback, like having like a team wanted him, and like that means a lot to like a guy like Sam Darnold who hasn't had a lot of success. So yeah, I like it. And the Chargers too, which
I saw his
what that guy's name is. But yeah, I mean, obviously Justin Herbert's a star. We know this, but yeah, I'm excited about them too.
Well, speaking about the Jets really quickly, another thing about the Jets, I know you mentioned the team sometimes, like the front office and just the way they handle their players, it seems like they don't care. But that's a tough market to play in too. Like, Bills Mafia is a crazy market, like, and we're wild and whatnot. But the Jets, being in New York or New Jersey, it's a really tough market to play in when it comes to, if you don't have a good game, you're dragged. And it's not like a normal drag. It's like you're really dragged. And it's probably very tough on people's emotional and mental health when it comes to like just doing their job, being a quarterback. It's probably a whole lot tougher in that market. Can you speak a little about because now I want to kind of transition to the Giants out there. Daniel Jones, he looked pretty good last week.
Yeah, so I'm somebody that all last season, I've never been like a big Daniel Jones hater. I know like a lot of people just like think he stinks and like all this stuff. He didn't look as bad as I thought everyone said he looked last season, especially without Saquon Barkley. I mean, I feel like Daniel Jones improved a little bit game after game after game. And I mean, I kind of worried like transitioning to this next season if that would kind of fall off a little bit, just because sometimes when you get yourself into the rhythm and then, you get disappointed and, things kind of fall off. But I mean, like you said, he hasn't looked terrible. I mean, I was really surprised by his performance week 2. And I don't know if the problem there is I feel like sometimes the Giants have trouble like building upon their wins, and they kind of play down to like their opponent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think they're more talented than people feel or than they think. And when Barkley I've had an ACL tear, and I know he's like an amazingly freakishly gifted athlete. But the thing is, an ACL tear is an ACL tear, and I don't care how hard you work. The mental aspect of trusting your knee again and kind of just being fluid with those cuts and those runs, it's not natural to come back. You have to actually grow to the place where you trust it. So I think when they get 100% Barkley back mentally and physically, I think that the team is going to be scary. But this is a Bill show, so I don't want to tick off my fan base here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the AFC East in general. We talked a little bit about the Jets already. Now, this past Sunday, we did face the Miami Dolphins, and Tua went out with a rib injury early on. What do you think the Miami Dolphins is? What do you think they can look like if Tua's not in? Do you think they're better off with Tua not starting, or because obviously last year there were times that they kept pulling him. It was kind of like a yo-yo effect where they would throw Fitz in there and say, Fitz, go close the game for us. Do you think that at this point maybe it's just not looking like he's going to be the NFL quarterback that a lot of people thought he was going to be?
Yeah, so I said that last year. Like, I hated that they did that, especially with the young guy. I understand, like, you want to throw the veteran in there, but that's just teaching him. That's teaching your young guy that when things get tough, somebody's going to be there to clean up the mess. And that's not always the way. That's not how things work in the NFL. So I didn't like that. I thought it was kind of like, it's a confidence killer. I mean, if you're a quarterback and you're sitting there and, it's third down and they're pulling you out and putting Ryan Fitzpatrick in, you're like, I wanted to go for that. I was in the rhythm to go for that. Like, why can't I go for that? So that's kind of how I thought about that situation. I think it's unfortunate for him. I would have liked to see him really just get a chance this year, get a full chance without, the reinforcements of Ryan Fitzpatrick back there. So it's unfortunate for him that he has this injury. I was kind of looking forward to seeing what he can do. I'm not closing the door on him yet. I like Jacoby Brissett. Unfortunately, he didn't have as great a game last week against you guys, but I think he's a solid backup. I'm not saying, he's anything special, but I feel like if Tua didn't get hurt, I feel like the result was probably going to be the same. Yeah.
Well, so I like Jacoby Brissett. When he was with the Colts, I was pretty much, I mean, obviously they lost Andrew Luck. So that's a huge drop off in talent. And Andrew Luck is one of those generational talents that, you wish that things didn't go the way they went. But I saw a lot from Jacoby Brissett then that made me say, he can be a starter in this league somewhere. Mm-hmm. But the last two times, actually, he's played against the Buffalo Bills, he's been shut out. So I don't know if it's just that the Bills have his number, if our defensive coordinator, Leslie Frazier, just kind of knows what he's doing when it comes to Brissett. But like you said, I don't think it would have been much of a difference if Tua was the starter at all. But I like Brian Flores as well. I think the team is headed in the right direction. I just think they got to figure out some things. A lot of their star players over the last couple of years have not been happy and they've wanted out. It just seems like, as much as I want to trust him as a good coach, it just seems to be some culture things going on down in Miami. Do you know anything about that, or can you speak to, why it seems like, they're building, but then at the same time, you throw two bricks up there and then you're taking down a brick at the same time. Can you kind of speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's, I don't really know anything about what's going on down there. I have no inside info or anything like that, but, I think they have a good team and they have a lot of talent. I mean, Xavier Howard is great. But like you said, a lot of players don't seem happy down there. And I mean, Brian Flores was wasn't he in the running for Coach of the Year last year? Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. So there has to be something there. But I don't know if it's maybe there's no veteran leadership there, could be something. I mean, I don't really know. I wish I did.
Yeah. Let's go up north now to the New England Patriots. Everybody wants the New England Patriots to come back, and outside of Buffalo, everybody is expecting Mac Jones to be the second coming of Tom Brady, and they're talking big about him. What have you seen to this point? Again, it's only we've had 2 games, so there's not a ton of film out there, and there's not we're not able to see how he reacts to different defensive situations like we would probably be able to talk about come week 10, week 12. But how do you see that situation now? And I'll tell you, my heart is, so I'm a Cam Newton fan, even though he was with the Patriots. I'm a Cam fan. So it kind of hurt me that they cut him, but I understand why they did. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk a little bit about the Patriots and what you see going on up there?
Yeah. Like you said, I'm a huge Cam Newton fan also. And I really did want to see him get a chance with, a year under his belt with the same system and all that kind of stuff. But I understand, like you said, the reasons why he's not there anymore. I kind of wish he were, you know, I mean, I feel like Mac Jones could use a good like veteran guy behind him like that, but I understand like why he's not there. I think Mac Jones is, I'm not ready to say that he's going to be like the next Tom Brady or anything, but I have him right now as probably the best in this rookie class, quarterback wise, for this year. I just feel like aside from Trey Lance, I guess we're taking Trey Lance out of the equation because he's not the starter. But I feel like Mac Jones has the, I guess, surrounding talent and the coaching staff and everything in place for him to have success. Whereas like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson kind of just got thrown to the wolves because there was no other choice. But that being said, I definitely feel like Mac Jones earned that job. Obviously, Bill Belichick likes him. Josh McDaniels he's the perfect guy for Josh McDaniels. He does need some work. Like I'd like to see him throw the ball downfield a little bit more. I've noticed a lot during these first 2 games that it's just been mostly short passes. And I mean, he's had some success with it. I'm not knocking that. If you're successful with it, then do it. There's no reason to, you know, fix what's not broken. But I would definitely like to see him pass the ball downfield a little bit more. And I think I don't know if there's some sort of like, maybe they're afraid to take the training wheels off kind of thing. But you know, that's kind of what I would like to see.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that because the tight ends that they have there, and they actually improved the receivers for him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually shocked that it's not much more of a major passing attack with those tight ends. Like I expected them to like really just throw it down people's throats down the middle of the field all game. And it just doesn't look like that. So I don't know. We'll see. And I agree with you about the rookie class to this point, because like everybody knew and everybody thought Trevor Lawrence was going to come in and just be like, okay, he's lights out. He's the next whoever. I'm not too sure of his coach. Like I don't know if his coach. I don't know. I just have a lot of questions when it comes to the front office and coaching staff down there in Jacksonville. It's rough. It's rough down there.
It is for sure. And like, I like Trevor Lawrence. I love Jaguars fans. They're like one of the most passionate fan bases, I think. To be able to stick with a team for that long after so many years of just nothing is phenomenal. I think that's great. But that being said, like they have a couple core pieces in there, but I mean, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't say Trevor Lawrence is built for success there. And I'm putting the same on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and well, you know what? Zach Wilson is in a far. I don't know. I'm a Bills fan, obviously. So in the AFC East, I want to say like I think Zach Wilson is in a far worse situation than Trevor. So Lawrence is, you know, I'm not sure if I trust his coach, and I'm not sure, but I feel like a couple injuries that happened down there kind of hurt some things, and I feel like there's some things that really will kind of hinder his development early this season. Mm-hmm. But I think for the long haul, if they get a better coach, maybe he's a good coach. I don't know. They get a better coach. I feel like for the long haul, he's set up better. New Jersey with the Jets, I just don't see it. I just really don't see it there. I don't know. We can move on because I don't want to talk bad about everybody today. But but let's talk a little bit about you, because you have, you've basically entered into I guess an arena that has typically in the past been dominated by men, and you've come in and you've made your mark and you've done great things. And, I followed you for quite some time before actually reaching out and kind of seeing if we can get you on the show. But, I just watch your interactions, and I read, a lot, and I go to your website. So, I mean, you have good information and good knowledge. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you got started, how you got into covering the NFL?
Sure. So I originally started, like most people do, as a fan, and I am from Baltimore, so I am a Ravens fan. So I just, got together with friends on the weekends to watch the games and everything, and I just started tweeting about the Ravens games, and that's kind of how it started. I lucked my way I was Ed Reed's intern for a while, and that's kind of how I got started in it. It showed me, I mean, I've seen pretty much every side of the NFL. I've seen it as a fan. I've seen it from behind the scenes. I've seen it as a member of the media. So I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like my coverage is kind of like a combination of all those three three things. So, yeah. And then I networked my ass off and met a lot of cool people like through that job, and like a lot of media people and everything. And I just kind of, started to go the media route, and that's kind of what I'm doing now. And it's, long story short, it's worked out pretty well. So.
Well, it absolutely has. Like everything that I see, so I've started a new show. So on Saturday nights, I do a show called The Chop Up, and I have the president from Bill's Mafia Babes, Kristen Kimmick, and then I have Angelina White. She does another pod, and then there's another gentleman, Sterling, that jumps on with me, and we do this, round table type deal. And the thing is, I'm trying to obviously be more inclusive, and I'm trying to have the platform be shared with women, because I think that a lot of women have good knowledge. And a lot of times what bothers me is now, because I'm doing this, I'm noticing the comments, and I'm noticing how people I had somebody one time tell one of my guests, like, well, break down some film and then maybe we can talk. And it's like, so it's just not a good look. And it's not one of those things that I typically, I don't have an easy time with letting that stuff go. So I've noticed how you handle yourself and how you conduct yourself. How are you able to navigate that without really just like blowing up? Because I mean, you get a ton of crap every day.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that without blowing up on people?
Most days it's easy. Most days it's easy to ignore. And but like when you're having a bad day, or like you're not feeling well, or like, something happened in your personal life that, you obviously don't want to talk about online because A, it's personal, and B, people are going to give you shit for it. It can get to you. And, it's hard for me in a sense, because like I'm a one woman show. I don't have an intern. I don't have somebody that answers my DMs or anything like that. So like, I don't have the option of like, the NFL never stops. So I don't have the option of just shutting my laptop or like turning my phone off and just like doing something else. Like, obviously I give myself like time to like, spend with friends and things like that. But I mean, like, I tell myself all the time that they'll never say it to my face, because they don't. I've had people like talk to me. I've had people say horrible things to me online, and I've seen them in person and they turn away. So I know they're not going to say it to my face. And B, like they're either upset with themselves or they're jealous of me. And, I mean, that might sound a little bit conceited, but I mean, it's the truth. So I just, I tell myself these things, and I've gotten better at like just blocking and not even responding. I've gotten better at that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's definitely harder than a lot of people think it is. If it was just people telling me that I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm a girl, go to the kitchen, go do laundry, that kind of thing. If that was all it was, fine, I'll take that any day. But I have some stories. I have some like stalking stories. I've gotten death threats. My parents' phone has been called before. Like, I mean, it's like stuff that shouldn't, like nobody signs up for this. Like I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous.
It's football. It's football. It's literally football. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, so because of what you're saying, and I'm going to bring in, so one of my co-hosts that I just mentioned that I talked about, she is a co-host with me on Saturday nights when we do the Chop Up, but she's also the president for this wonderful organization that I believe right now it stands at like 13,000 women. And it's the Bill's Mafia Babes group. And they've done so many things with charity, and they've done all these things, but with working with them, I've seen the same type of treatment that you get. I see the same thing with them. So what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to bring her in and kind of add to this conversation. So that way, things that the two of you can relate on, I kind of wanted her to kind of drive this conversation, and then me just kind of be a fly on the wall and give this platform to women and to you, and because it's sports, and I think it's all the same. So I'm going to bring in Kristen really quickly, my homegirl, K Gunn. What up, K Gunn?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Before we even say anything, I need to just point out that in sync picture on your book.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was watching, I was like, oh girl, we're gonna get along just fine.
And that's Justin Timberlake, that one.
Is that Justin? Is it like baby Jesus?
Yes, sure is.
Okay, I love it.
Good grief.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. I have so many questions for you, but like,
Let's do it.
before I say that, like, I just want to throw props your way because you're a symbol for all of us that are trying to, hold our own. You really are. For all of us that are trying to hold our own, because, as you just said, as a woman in sports, we get a lot of, there are some good people out there that are always, always have our back or always standing up for us. But there's also that side that is so ugly that I know personally for me, I've learned that even a single interaction now gives them our platform and it's just not worth it. And I know that you probably deal with the same things, obviously, but like you handle it with grace. And you're just kind of like paving this way for us to like be able to kind of like the little people to follow along behind you, Like, so I just really appreciate you.
That means a lot. It really does.
Yeah. I guess, my main question was what Spence just asked you, which was, how did you get where you are? And I loved hearing that it started at a fan level and just kind of grew from there. But I mean, like, obviously you're still seeing parts of the glass ceiling, like from the national side of it. Is that something that you still feel like, even on the level that you're at, is that something that you still feel like, I mean, on a regular basis, not just coming from fans? I'm not asking for names or anything like that, but like, do you still get like kind of the ridicule from, peers or higher ups or anything like that? Or does that disintegrate a little bit more as you climb?
It does disintegrate, I guess, as I don't want to say like as you get bigger, because I don't think of myself like that. But I mean, I definitely have had interactions with people in the past that would never, ever say what they said to me back then to my face now. They would never. And it's such a hard subject to talk about sometimes because like I don't consider myself somebody that's like, I don't consider myself like a celebrity or anything like that. So it's hard for me to like talk about myself in this way. But like I've had interactions with people that they're like, oh, I know who you are. And I'm like, you know who I am? Like things like that. And it's like, I don't know. But definitely like some people, especially because I cover the Ravens locally and as like one of the only women who did it like back then. And there was definitely like a lot of hostility. I remember two people, and I'm not going to say names or who they were affiliated with, but two different people who worked at the same organization who did things like tell me I needed to do my makeup differently and tell me that I'd never be allowed in a locker room and things like that. And I obviously haven't spoken to them since then, but I would really like to see their reaction now.
Right. I feel that because it's like the audacity.
I mean, like I was like a 21-year-old intern and you're telling me to do my makeup differently. It's like, and as like an intern who's like, and this is like a pretty big radio guy at the time, like a local radio guy. And I'm like, I'm trying to be in this industry and you're telling me this. And it's like, it really like dampens your, like I went home and cried that day.
Yeah. I mean, and it's that stuff that it's those moments where it's just kind of like, I know personally too, I hit those walls and it's like, what am I doing? But like, you don't want to give up because this is what you're passionate about and you want to keep moving forward. But there's just this glass ceiling that sometimes feels impossible to break through. And it's so frustrating, and I think that's, that's kind of where our organization was built from, was that 5 years ago, I went through an attack, like a pretty brutal one. And I decided at that moment that I was just done with social media. And so I went and I made this like little Facebook group and I called it the Bills Mafia Babes. And I threw all the women that I had ever tailgated with in there and was just kind of like, you know what, this is going to be my spot this season because there's no ridicule. Like we're safe here. And when I tell you that it was like that was it. We didn't even really have to proactively push it or do anything because it just organically grew within a single fan base to have 13,000 women. And it was like this moment where it was like, we're all just out here on little islands, you know, and coming together into one big island was like, it gave us that confidence and stuff to be able to talk about it. And that's why what I was saying, you know, watching people on your level and have this success and be taken seriously. It means so much to the rest of us that we can like look up to you guys and be like, you guys are killing it. Like you're killing it. And it's just so great to watch you.
Well, thanks. And I've had conversations with like younger women, like trying to get into the industry and everything. And I used to tell them like, don't do it. Like that would be my response. Like, don't do it. Right. And now like I've kind of told them just so you know, like this is how it is. And it's probably to a point never going to stop. So make sure you're prepared for it. Make sure you're ready for it. Like mentally, physically, emotionally, like, cause I wasn't ready for it. I was thrown into this. Like I never wanted to be like, I wasn't like, I want to be Erin Andrews when I grow up. Like that was never something that I wanted to do. Like I went to school to be a teacher and like, I just kind of fell into this. And so nobody really prepared me for it. Nobody told me this is what you should expect. Nobody told me, be prepared for these men saying these things to you. Be prepared for, you know, be prepared for the death threats, be prepared for, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of wish somebody had. So I'm trying to be that for someone else, be that for somebody who's younger than me, who wants to get into this industry. I'm telling them to be prepared for this. If you want to talk about it, DM me. And that has been done. So.
Yeah. Well, we're all watching, girl. We really are, because you guys are just paving that way and you're killing it for us. And we're just so appreciative. But then I got to ask like a fun question to like enlighten it. I need to know like your personal favorite moment that you've been in and all the experiences that you've been in. There has to be like one or two that you're like, yo, this is really cool.
Yeah. So I've got two, and one's from like really early on and one's from fairly recently. Can I do two?
Okay. You got the floor. Okay. Do you?
So my first one, when I was an intern for Ed Reed, this is kind of when I realized that like this sports thing was like more than sports in a way. So when I interned for Ed Reed, I did my first event for him. It was like it was a flag football tournament, and it was, you know, everybody sponsored, there were different sponsors and everything. And, you know, people played in it and everything. And afterwards we had all like, we were supposed to meet at a crab place and like go out for dinner, celebrate the event. You know, the top sponsors, everybody who worked on the event, Ed Reed himself, a bunch of the other players, etc. So this little boy and his dad, somehow, he was like 10 or 11, something around there. This little boy and his dad somehow found out where Ed Reed was going to be after this flag football tournament. And the owner, when we got there, the owner came in and was like, just so you know, like this little boy's been down here all day long for like 6 hours with his dad waiting for you guys to get here. So Ed Reed literally invites this kid and his dad to like have crabs and dinner with us. It was like so cool. I love that. He didn't have to do that, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And then the second one was I got invited to cover the Super Bowl this year. And obviously it was a little bit different because of COVID and everything like that. But like interviewing like Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes was like such a big thing for me. So those are my two things.
Great. That's so amazing. I love that.
I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous. Well, no, I'm a little jealous. You got to interview Tom and Patrick. I'm just saying like that. I've been shooting for those. I've been shooting those shots and it ain't been working for me.
I mean, like that's something I don't know if I'm going to have kids, but you know, that's something I'll tell my kids about.
Yeah. That's so great. And I love hearing like that emotional side of it too, a little bit, you know, because I mean, I think that obviously like, you know, we've got different emotions. We perceive things differently. We're more perceptive to little moments like that. And I just love it. Like, because I'm the same way. Like I watch different interactions with players and families and things on the field and off the field. And it's kind of like, that they're a good one. They're a really good human too, you know?
Yeah. And like everybody tells you, like, don't meet your heroes, like don't meet your favorite celebrity because they might not be what you think they are. But like Ed Reed is a good one.
Yeah.
I love that.
Ed's the man. Like Ed is really the man. We got a chance in Buffalo to kind of get to know him a little bit when he coached 1 year under Rex Ryan. And when I tell you, he's just one of the most kind-hearted. You know, you see him on a football field when he was playing, and obviously he's a beast. So he's like running through people and committing. He probably was the one that started the Tremaine Edmonds, murder thing that Tremaine got going on, because he's catching bodies every week. And we're going to talk about him catching bodies in a minute. But Ed Reed was doing that like when it was legal to like just take guys' heads off.
Right.
But then when you talk to him and you hear his heart and you hear like the stuff that he cares about and that he's passionate about, he's one of the nicest dudes that you'll ever get to meet. So I'm glad that you had that experience with him, and like he's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we get off of that, because I do want to, from both of you now, kind of just get a little bit of a preview of what you might think about the Bills and the Washington football game coming up. But prior to that, before we get off the top, we kind of deviated and went to like some good moments for you. But I kind of want to go back to the conversation about you being in the industry and just how difficult but also enjoyable and all those things. Honest to God, this is an honest question from me. And I feel like there's a lot of men in the comments that either A, need to hear this, or B, want to be a part of it but don't know how. What is the best way for men to be supportive of this and to get involved in such a way to where, when things are going on, it makes your world easier for both of you? So it's really a question for both. And I don't know whoever wants to go first, but, I feel like it shouldn't be something that needs to be asked, I guess, in a way, but apparently it needs to be. So what is it that, from men, from me, from Justin in the comments, from Ryan in the comments, from Joe, my co-host on the Hump Day Hotline, and just whoever, what is it that we can do to support and help just your jobs be easier on a day-to-day basis?
If you see something, say something.
Hey, wait a minute now. Now I don't know if you just I don't know if you know what you just did there, Lindsey. I'm sorry. I don't know if you know what you just did there. That's my little campaign about Tremaine. So I told you, we're going to talk about Tremaine catching bodies because he's murdering people. And if you see something, say something. But okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. That was wrong. I was sorry. Go ahead.
No, like if you see somebody saying something that shouldn't be said to a woman or doing something that shouldn't be done to a woman, say something, because a lot of times the people or the men that are saying and doing these things already don't have respect for women. So they're not going to, it's not going to matter if I say something back to them, but it might matter if you say something back to them,
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like a lot of people just might not want to get involved, and that's totally fine. Like I don't want to spend all day arguing with John 367-249 in my mentions all day. I don't want to do that. So I understand why, another guy might not want to do that. But I mean, sometimes in order to get men to realize they're doing something wrong, they need to hear it from another man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on that, because that was literally, I was waiting for that one to say the see something, say something, because first of all, that's Spence's catchphrase over the last couple of weeks. And I was like, we look at it in a little bit of a different light, right? So like we look at it like, oh, you see a good play, you talk about that good play, but also flip that to the other side. Like flip that to, like you said, a lot of times we get what I'm sure, again, I think I'm repeating myself, but a lot of times when I get attacked, I just stay silent, because if I interact once, it draws more eyes to that. And then it seemingly gets worse. And now I'm battling 6 people instead of just one person. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it for my own mentals. It's not worth it. I've got better things to do. I could cook a really nice meal instead of spending time with, like you said, John in 17 digits that has 2 followers that is literally just created a burner to chase after people and be miserable on the timeline. Right. And I think that we're not really even asking for a full-blown all-out fight. Just acknowledge it as a man that this is wrong. Just say that, credit where credit's due. Like it just kind of throw us, get in our corner. That's really all that we can ask for, is because a human is a human is a human. And just having those additional humans it just helps so much. It really does. And it kind of boosts us a little bit as well, because a lot of those times, like some of the stuff that we see can really break you. Like it can really break you. And as much as you try and stay strong through it, like you said, I've cried myself to sleep more times than I can count just because of nasty things that complete strangers have said on the internet, until I started to really get myself into a headspace to not let that stuff bother me anymore.
Right.
But that's a process to get there. So, just those little bumps of, just kind of raising awareness to it, or not even bringing light to the negativity, but bringing light to the positivity that can be generated from that negativity is sometimes just the biggest thing for us. And that's it.
Yeah. And like, how many times have you heard a man excuse another man for that man's behavior? It's the same as like, not bring up like heavy subjects, but like if you get raped and, the policeman's the one that's saying, well, you shouldn't have been alone at night, or you should, I mean, it's two different situations, but at the same time, how many times has that happened?
Right. Exactly. And not everybody talks about it like that. And when they do, you have to kind of take that as alarm. Like, that's an alarm that there's some major issues going on, probably below the surface on multiple levels, both on socials and in real life. And so it's just frustrating.
Well, I do want to, and Kristen might be mad at me about this, but I do want to make a statement about something. So the Babes and Brother Bill recently, I'm not going to say too much, Kristen, I promise, but the Babes and Brother Bill recently at the home opener did a fundraiser with Tommy Dreamer, old ex-wrestler. And this past week, something came out that he said basically the conversation you just had, like how many times will guys take up for another guy? He took up for Ric Flair in a way that just was inappropriate. It was wrong. And I feel that there's an attack right now because now they're connected. The Babes and Brother Bill are both connected to this guy because of a fundraiser that they did. The thing is, it's wrong. It's inappropriate. I didn't say anything earlier because Kristen told me to chill. So I'm still chilling. Like, I'm not going to call the specific person out, and I'm not going to, but it's wrong. And one of those things that has to happen is at some point as a fan base, and not even a fan base, just as a people, we have to like really start treating people fairly. I've had conversations previously in the past on my show and on other platforms about racism, because that's something that I have dealt with. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak to, the way men treat you ladies, or even, I'm sure there are women who sometimes take up for guys out of pocket too, which is kind of weird. But all in all, there seems to be like a box sometimes that women are placed in. And if you don't stay in that box and behave appropriately, it's like, it's your fault. And I kind of hate that. So one of the things that I'm trying to do, obviously this is a football podcast and but I've been given a platform. And there are going to be times like this where I'm going to use it for the right reason. Last season, I did one about domestic violence. I had Allison on, and she talked about just all of the things that people can do to get out of abusive situations and relationships. And, I had somebody on for mental health, and so things like this matter to me. So I do want to say, like, look, if you're a guy in these comments, or you're like David, I just blocked one. I don't know if y'all saw that or not. But if you're a guy and you're on the timeline, and you're in these comments, or you're whatever, and you think that it's okay to act a certain way and be a certain way, I'm going to call it out. And this is the last time I'm going to do it this politically correct. And I'm only doing this in I guess in honor or in respect to what Kristen asked me not to do. But no, at some point, I don't care who you are. I don't care what level you think you're on. And I don't care, what things you tend to operate, or how you're popular and what circles you're popular in. This got to stop. It just has to stop, because, it just has to stop. And I'll leave it there. So let's lighten up a little bit. Let's let the air out of that. This Sunday, our Buffalo Bills are playing against the Washington football team. And unfortunately, it's in Buffalo, and I'm not there this time. Or it's in Orchard Park, and I want to be there. My guy, John Fina, is going to be there for it. They got a couple legends coming for it. Lindsey, let's start with you. What do you think, how do you see this game happening Sunday?
I think it's going to be a good one. I am really excited about Chase Young. I love him. I was in the Taylor Heineke should start crew since the beginning. Not to like diss on Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I just, I kind of figure, roll with the younger guy, see what he has. So I think they have a really good team. I don't think they have all the pieces there yet. I'll just say that. But I think
Can I cut you off for a quick second there? Because
Sure.
I was gonna forget. I know my mind. So Taylor Heineke. So obviously everybody in Buffalo loves Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like I always make the analogy, like he's the girlfriend of your past, or for you, he's the boyfriend of your past that you know is just not the boyfriend you need. He's not gonna be your husband. He's not the franchise guy. Not gonna get you a ring, but you just love him because he's like, he's just something in your heart that just won't let him go.
Favorite.
Yeah, so and that's what Fitz is. So we love him wherever he goes, besides when he was in Miami and when he was in with the Jets. But we loved him then. We just didn't love him when he played against us. I also think that Taylor looked good, and he should have been the starter. Do you think it's his job to lose now? I mean, because I know Fitz he's on IR. He's going to come back, I think, in 2 more weeks. What do you think? Do you think it's Fitz's job as soon as he gets off IR, or is this Heineke's job to lose?
I think it's Heineke's job to lose. If he keeps, he didn't play like lights out last week, but he did enough to win, and he did it. And nobody counted on him to win, so everybody counted him out. So I feel like if he continues to play the way he's playing, then putting Fitzpatrick in there is going to be a difficult decision. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, give me a quick I don't want to say prediction on score or anything, but give me a quick prediction on how you see the game going.
Okay. I definitely think Chase Young's going to give that offensive line a problem, like we talked about earlier. But I feel like Josh Allen's good enough. I feel like Josh Allen's going to have, I guess he kind of had a bounce back week last week, but I feel like he's going to look a lot more like Josh Allen this week.
Okay. I'm hoping so, because I'm tired of arguing with all the fan base saying that Josh isn't. Yeah, it's like, he's regressing already. He's going back to 2018 Josh, and it's like, wait. Pump your brakes. What about you, Kristen? What you think we're going into this Sunday at Orchard Park? When Washington, the football team, comes in to face the Bills.
I named one of my fantasy teams the fantasy football team. But you know what? I think we're actually all kind of on the same page. Sadly, I would have loved because again, the Buffalo in me would have loved to see Fitzpatrick take that field again for us. I'm really upset about that injury with him, not only, because I wanted to see him play again, but also I was really excited for him, for our fans' reactions to him walking into that stadium, because Bills Mafia is loud. Like, we are loud. And especially we went through a drought for 20 years, we still stood by those players and we loved them on these different levels. And we found other reasons to love them. And I think that a lot of us did that with Fitz. So for me personally, I followed him along, around the league and every endeavor that he's moved on to after, as many bazillion of those as it's been. Would have loved to see him back. But I think that obviously we're not going to have another blowout like we had with the Dolphins. I think that we are walking into a game that is going to be difficult again for us defensively. I think that Washington and Pittsburgh's defenses are very similar. I'm worried about our O-line. We have we have holes in our O-line. And I think that is going to be an issue. I still think we're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be as pretty as, we really expect it to be, as some expect it to be.
Okay, well, save your score prediction for the chop up. That's because we need that for the chop up. But I'm going with both of you. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's by any means going to be a 35-0. Of course, Bills fans would like that, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think that to your point, that kid Young, he's something serious. He's something serious to look at. But then even offensively, we just talked about Taylor Heineke taking that position, but look, we have some old friends out there too that's really looking good. My friend Logan Thomas, he was in Buffalo for a minute there. Now he's looking like one of the top tight ends in the league. I know he hasn't quite had the big game yet. It's only 2 weeks, but he's the real deal out there. And they have some receivers out there. They got a young running back that's pretty good. So I don't think it's going to be one of those games where Bills fans are just like, all right, we're going to go in there and dominate. We need to relax. We need to pump the brakes. So looking forward to it. Lindsey, thank you so much for doing this. Like, you don't understand how exciting this show for me has been. And it's probably going to go down as one of my favorites because of because of the topics that we tackled and the things that we were able to talk about. But before we get out of here, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on the socials, where they can find your website and your content, and then, you know, just if you got any last words or anything you want to say to the fan base.
You can find me at Lindsey OK. It's with 2 Y's. Pretty much everything is the same username, so you don't have to really search for it. LindseyOK.com too. I talk about quarterbacks, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And one of on my bucket list is to go to a Bills tailgate. I have not done it yet, but
let's link up.
Well, you know what? Before so
because I crazy.
Well, before we end the show, or when we end the show, it's going to be like a little outro thing. Just sit tight for a second. We got to talk before you leave. So, Kristen, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on.
On Twitter, you can find me at Kimmick86. You can also find the Bills Mafia Babes Twitter at Bills Mafia Babes. You can find me with Spence every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on the Chop Up. And we also, if you want to link in, if you're a female and you want to jump into our female only Bills Babes group on Facebook, that's where it's at for us.
All right. And y'all know how to do it here. It's your boy, Jay Spence the King, and I'm representing that Buffalo Rumblings podcast and YouTube network. Y'all know where to find me at Jay Spence the King on Twitter. And y'all already know, love each other, take care of each other, and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative, go Bills.
Go Bills.
You got to say it, Lindsey. I know you got to say it. Thank you.
Code of conduct.